When I found out I was the billionaire's illegitimate daughter, I raced over to meet my father, my heart pounding with excitement. But when I arrived at Thorn Manor, I discovered 98 other illegitimate daughters already lined up, waiting for their chance to meet him, too. As it turned out, Mr. Thorn's only son had passed away, and he was searching for an heir to his multi-billion-dollar empire. He gathered all his illegitimate daughters, hoping to find the strongest successor. Through a series of challenges, feeling completely outmatched, I hung my head, ready to slip away quietly. Suddenly, I heard my late mother Eleanor's voice speaking to me. "Scarlet, don't go. I know how you can win. Remember your arch-rival from the orphanage, Valerie? She's one of them too. If you walk away now, that multi-billion-dollar fortune will all go to her." I spun around and sure enough, there was Valerie's face staring back at me. 10 years ago, she'd locked me in that dusty rat-infested storage room, stolen my shot at adoption, and condemned me to another decade of misery. The memory made anger burn in my chest. "All right, Mom. I'm listening. I'm not leaving. Mr. Thorn's billions, they're as good as mine." My arch-rival Valerie recognized me right away. "Scarlet, why aren't you still stuck in that back alley? What are you doing at Mr. Thorn's place? Don't tell me you're here to steal something. A street rat like you doesn't belong here." I clenched my fists, ready to fire back a retort. Mr. Thorn slowly descended the grand staircase, his gaze sweeping over all of us. "For years I've failed as a father. I owe all of you an apology, so I've prepared $200,000 for each of you as compensation. Those who want it can register with Alfred the butler to collect." The mansion erupted in excited murmurs. "Thank you, Father. I really needed this money. You're the best dad." Watching everyone swarm toward Alfred, Valerie scoffed from the sidelines. "A bunch of greedy fools. Do they honestly think they can compete with me for the inheritance?" After Valerie stole my adoption chance, she'd been living in luxury with a wealthy family. 200 grand was pocket change to her. For me, who was used to eating stale bread every day, $200,000 could buy my freedom. Seeing me hesitate, tempted to join the money line, Mom quickly warned Scarlet, "This is just the first test. Anyone who takes the $200,000 is short-sighted and gets disqualified immediately. Those who walk away from the money show they've got the ambition to compete in the real challenges." I froze mid-step and sneaked a glance at Mr. Thorn. Sure enough, he was watching the line of daughters with a critical eye, shaking his head in disappointment. Just then Alfred announced those claiming the $200,000 must sign this inheritance waiver. Without hesitation, I stepped out of the line. But the waiver didn't stop most of them watching. Most of the daughters fixated on the quick $200,000 payout, eagerly signing the agreement. Mr. Thorn sighed, disappointment written across his face, and turned his gaze to the remaining few. When Mr. Thorn and I accidentally locked eyes, Mom's voice echoed, "See me? I wouldn't lie to you. Just trust me and do as I say. I never got a cent from that deadbeat when I was alive, so you have to make me proud and fight for this." The next moment, Mr. Thorn announced in a stern voice, "20 of you have chosen to forego the $200,000. Please follow the guards upstairs." Spotting me among them, Valerie looked stunned. "Scarlet, you're an illegitimate daughter too, so we're half-sisters." I ignored her because right then, Mr. Thorn was announcing the first-round challenge. "To be my heir, financial management and earning potential are essential. I'll give each of you $100,000 in seed money in 1 hour. The 10 of you with the most remaining funds will move forward in the succession process." As soon as Mr. Thorn finished speaking, the other 19 daughters pulled out their phones and jumped into action. "My mom's an entrepreneur. I've been learning the ropes from her since I was a kid. I've got this. I have a PhD in finance. I know exactly how to grow this money." They all started showing off their credentials. Some immediately opened stock trading apps. Others navigated to investment fund platforms. Some used the $100,000 as seed money to draft business proposals on the spot. Others capitalized on the moment by going live on TikTok, at the billionaire's mansion, live from the heir selection, for exclusive updates on this crazy family inheritance showdown. But as I stared at the bank card the guard handed me, I felt completely helpless. I never even finished high school. The orphanage kicked me out to sell things on the streets to survive. These women were all educated, Pulisha profissionals. How could I possibly compete? Valerie noticed my panic and laughed mockingly. "Everyone else is hard at work, and you don't even have a phone. You think you can compete for the inheritance?" Valerie didn't just look down on me. She looked down on all the other illegitimate daughters too. I graduated top of my class from business school. When it comes to making money, none of you stand a chance. She then split her focus buying stocks and drafting an investment proposal to present to Mr. Thorn. In an hour, Mom encouraged me. "Scarlet, remember what they say? Don't fear the trust fund kids who spend money. Fear the ones who think they can actually run a business." Let them play their games. This round, you win by doing absolutely nothing. Even if you have to fake it. Act like you've got everything under control. She added, you've been in the real world since you were a kid. Facing all its hardships when it comes to reading people. None of them can touch you. Now start watching your billionaire dad closely. You never know when that might come in handy. Her words gave me new confidence. After a moment's thought, I stepped back to a corner and began studying Mr. Thorn, trying to get a read on his personality and temperament. While the other daughters pulled out all the stops, my focus stayed solely on Mr. Thorn. My unusual calmness caught Mr. Thorn's attention. He had Alfred come over to me. Why aren't you doing anything? Following Mom's advice, I answered without hesitation. Protecting an empire is far harder than building one. With today's economic uncertainty, I'd rather play it safe. To protect the wealth you've worked so hard to build, father. So sooner had I spoken. Then someone screamed. My stocks just crashed. This can't be happening. Another woman kicked over a chair. Scammers. This investment firm is a total fraud. My money got converted to crypto and stolen. Who shut down my TikTok stream? I just paid for promotion. In the middle of the chaos, I met Mr. Thorn's gaze calmly. A faint glimmer appeared in his eyes. But he said nothing. An hour passed quickly. My strategy of doing nothing actually landed me in 5th place, advancing me to the next round. Mom, thank you. I'm one step closer to that multi-billion-dollar fortune. Valerie, meanwhile, had earned $50,000 through her own efforts. Her written proposal also earned high praise from Mr. Thorn. Watching her advance in 1st place, the other daughters were green with envy. As we followed Alfred upstairs again, Valerie deliberately bumped into me. Scarlet, you just got lucky. It's not too late to quit and leave. Otherwise, once I become heir, I'll make sure you regret it. I gave her a cold stare, making a silent vow. Once I inherit those billions, she'll pay for what she did to me as a kid. When we reached the luxurious dining room, Alfred surprisingly pulled out a chair for me. Scarlet, please have a seat here. I didn't think much of it at first, but as I started toward the chair, I noticed Valerie smirking at me, like she was waiting for me to embarrass myself. Mom immediately warned me. Scarlet, that's your father's seat at the head of the table. You can't sit there. They're not actually going to eat. This is a test of dining etiquette. My heart skipped a beat. I waved my hands at Alfred. That's my father's seat at the head of the table. When will he be joining us? Alfred gave me an approving smile. From the corner of my eye, I saw Valerie grind her teeth in frustration. I didn't dare gloat, focusing intently on Mom's instructions. With Mom's help, I aced this round when pouring wine for Mr. Thorn. My experience as a waitress let me serve without spilling a drop. During the meal, my utensils made no scraping sounds against the plate. After the meal, as Alfred led us downstairs, I noticed 5 fewer competitors. They'd been forced to sign inheritance waivers and left dejectedly with $200,000. Valerie jabbed my back, sneering. Scarlet, don't get too cocky. You'll be out soon enough. I wasn't timid anymore. I shot back coldly. Valerie, you'd better watch yourself. If I win, first thing I'll do is lock you in that dusty, rat-infested storage room. Scarlet, you're asking for it. Valerie's face turned red and she raised her hand to slap me. Mr. Thorn suddenly stopped, his gaze sweeping across our faces. Before we continue, I have a serious question for all of you. I immediately knew this was the next challenge. Everyone held their breath waiting for Mr. Thorn's question. If my business faced a crisis, that could only be fixed by marrying an infertile man in a permanent vegetative state. Would you do it? Think carefully. This isn't hypothetical. It's a real possibility. As soon as he finished, Valerie stepped forward first. Of course I would. Any sacrifice for you, father, is my duty. Of course. With my skills, I can not only save the company through marriage, but use my husband's family connections to take us to new heights. Seeing her, others rushed to declare their loyalty. As your daughter, father, marriage is my duty and mission. A vegetative, infertile man might be better. I could do IVF and the child would take my last name. Suddenly, several daughters gathered around Mr. Thorn, creating a falsely warm scene. Mom, worried I might freeze up, reminded me, Scarlet, don't fall for his scare tactics. He's testing your loyalty. Just say you're willing. But seeing Mr. Thorn's motionless face and scrutinizing eyes, I hesitated. Mr. Thorn's reaction was too strange. I stood frozen, trying to figure out the real meaning behind the question. Mom grew impatient. Scarlet, what are you waiting for? Say you're willing now. I dated your father for 6 months. I know him. He falls for flattery. Hurry up. Mom was wrong. Mr. Thorn wouldn't be that easily fooled. I remembered our previous eye contacts and his subtle expressions, my mind racing as I stayed silent. All eyes turned to me. Mr. Thorn frowned, giving me a meaningful look. Scarlet, is this question so hard to answer? Look at your sisters. They didn't hesitate. Valerie wore a smug, triumphant grin. The country bumpkins never seen real life. She probably didn't even understand the question. Other daughters whispered, waiting for me to embarrass myself. She showed off at dinner, but now her true colors are showing. Mom panicked. Scarlet, are you trying to drive me crazy? Say it now. Only by agreeing do you stand a chance at that fortune. I took a deep breath and answered clearly, I'm not willing. Marcus looked at the mountain of fried chicken and spicy snacks Violet had piled in his room. In the past, he would have hugged her, calling her the best sister ever. He would have locked the door and gorged himself until he fell into a greasy stupor, exactly as Dad planned. I stood in the doorway, watching him. Poor Marcus. My voice echoed in his head, cold and clear. He thinks this is love. He doesn't realize Dad is feeding him like a pig for slaughter. Every calorie is a nail in his coffin. Dad knows Marcus has a heart condition that hasn't surfaced yet, the same one Grandpa had. If he keeps eating like this and never exercises, he'll have a stroke by 25. That's why Dad spoils him. A dead or disabled son can't claim his share of the inheritance. He'll be out of the way, leaving everything for Violet. Marcus's hand, reaching for a drumstick, froze. His face went from a happy flush to a deathly pale white. He looked at the chicken, then at Violet, who was beaming with a sisterly smile. Marcus? What's wrong? Isn't this your favorite? Violet asked, her voice like honey. She's so proud of herself, I thought. She even sprinkled extra MSG and salt on those, didn't she? Dad told her it's the fastest way to make someone addicted. In my last life, Marcus died of a massive heart attack in a filthy internet cafe. Dad didn't even cry. He just asked the lawyer how soon the life insurance would pay out. Suddenly, Marcus's phone, the one he spent 16 hours a day on, began to vibrate violently in his hand. It grew hot, then began to smoke. Marcus didn't drop it. His rage was so intense it felt like the air in the room was ionizing. Get out, Marcus whispered. What? Violet blinked. Marcus, I just wanted to. I said get out. Marcus screamed. He grabbed the bucket of chicken and hurled it against the wall. He smashed his gaming phone onto the floor, the screen shattering into 1,000 pieces. Violet fled the room, terrified. Marcus turned to me. His chest was heaving. He looked at me with eyes full of tears and a terrifying clarity. Is it true, Amber? Is it all true? I didn't speak. I just looked at him with pity. I can't tell him I'm reborn. He has to choose to save himself. Marcus didn't need me to speak. He had heard enough. That night, for the first time in 10 years, Marcus didn't eat dinner. He went for a run until he threw up, and then he spent the night researching business law. Next was Ethan, our eldest brother. Once a genius athlete and a top-tier scholar, he was now a shadow of a man, confined to a wheelchair after a hit and run 3 years ago. I went to his study. The room smelled of old paper and bitterness. Ethan sat by the window, staring out at the garden. Amber, he said without turning. The house is loud today. Mom is acting strange. Marcus is acting strange. And you are the strangest of all. He's so sharp, I thought. Even broken, Ethan is the most dangerous person in this family. That's why Dad had to break his legs. The driver who hit him wasn't a drunk. He was a professional hired by Dad's mistress's brother. Dad paid him $2 million from Mom's secret account to ensure Ethan would never walk again. He wanted Ethan's spirit crushed so he wouldn't take over the company. The sound of a pen snapping echoed in the quiet room. Ethan's wheelchair creaked as he gripped the armrests. I saw a thin wisp of smoke rising from his hair, not from fire, but from the sheer, burning intensity of his blood pressure spiking. If Ethan knew the driver is currently living in a villa in the suburbs, funded by Dad's charity foundation, he'd probably kill someone, I mused silently. Dad visits him every month to make sure he stays quiet. They laugh about the tragedy over expensive whiskey. Ethan turned his chair. His face was a mask of cold, calculated fury. He wasn't crying. He was vibrating with a murderous energy. Amber, he said, his voice dropping to a low guttural growl. Which villa? I blinked, pretending not to understand. The one at the North Hills development. Unit 402. The title is under a shell company called Violet Skies. How poetic. Ethan closed his eyes. When he opened them, the hopelessness was gone. In its place was the predator he used to be. Go play, Amber. I have some phone calls to make. Dad and Violet were oblivious. They thought Mom's coldness was just a phase. At dinner, Dad tried to play the hero again. Since everyone is home, I've decided to host a gala next week. It's to officially introduce Violet to our social circle as our adopted daughter. Mom set her chopsticks down with a sharp clack. No. Dad froze. Honey, we already discussed this. It's about being charitable. It'll look great for the company's PR. Payad? I thought. He means he wants to introduce his mistress as the event coordinator, so he can flaunt both his daughters and his lover under Mom's nose. He's already planning to announce a massive donation to the orphanage, which is actually a front for laundering Mom's money into his private account. I said no. Mom repeated, her voice like ice. In fact, I've been looking at the company books, David. There are some discrepancies. Millions of dollars labeled as charity that seem to vanish into thin air. Dad's face paled. I can explain that. Business is complicated, you know? Is it? Ethan chimed in, rolling his wheelchair to the table. He looked stronger than he had in years. Because I did some digging today. It turns out that charity goes to a shell company. Violet Skies. Named after our new sister. Quite a coincidence. Violet gasped, her fork falling to the floor. I don't know anything about that. Of course she does, I thought. She has the bank card in her bag right now. Dad gave it to her for her allowance. She's been bragging to her secret boyfriend about how she's going to be a billionaire soon. Marcus stood up, his 200-pound frame looking imposing for the first time. Give me the bag, Violet. What? No. This is an invasion of privacy. Violet shrieked. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough. You're all bullying this poor girl. Amber, this is your fault, isn't it? You've been whispering poison into their ears. He's going to hit me, I thought calmly. In the last life, this was when he slapped me so hard I lost a tooth. Then he locked me in the attic for 3 days without food. Dad lunged across the table, his hand raised. But he never reached me. Marcus caught Dad's wrist midair. The strength of a son who had finally found a reason to fight was greater than the strength of a father who had spent his life lying. Don't touch her, Marcus growled. The gala happened, but not the way Dad intended. Mom invited the police and the board of directors to the house instead of socialites. Dad was trapped. He tried to run, grabbing Violet and his briefcase full of stolen documents. He headed for the roof of our apartment building, thinking his mistress was waiting in a getaway car in the alley. We followed him. The wind howled on the 13th floor balcony, the same place where, in another life, he had pushed me to my death. Stay back. Dad screamed, holding Violet in front of him like a shield. I built this family. I deserve this money. Your mother is a cold, heartless woman who never understood me. He's waiting for Sarah, I thought. His mistress. He thinks she's coming to save him. He doesn't know Ethan found her first. Sarah isn't coming. She took the remaining money she'd already bled from him and fled to another country this morning. She never loved him. She just loved the fortune he was stealing from us. Dad's eyes widened. Sarah? No. She wouldn't. She would, David, Mom said, walking onto the balcony. She looked regal, her eyes filled with a cold finality. Because you attract exactly what you are, a parasite. Violet was crying, but this time, nobody felt compassion. She looked at Dad. Where is she? Where is my mom? She's gone, Violet, I said aloud for the first time. My voice was soft, but it carried in the wind. Just like your future. Dad looked at the edge of the balcony. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a sudden, horrific realization. You. How do you know everything? Who are you? I'm the ghost of the daughter you murdered, I thought. I'm the justice you thought you could outrun. Dad stepped back, his heel catching on the ledge. For a moment he teetered, just as I had. Violet reached for him, but her trembling bird act was her undoing. She was too weak, too focused on herself. She tripped, and instead of pulling him back, she pushed him. Dad fell. There was no instant death this time. He hit the safety netting 2 floors down. A net he had installed himself a year ago when he was worried about accidents. He survived, but as the police swarmed the building, he was paralyzed from the waist down. A poetic echo of the fate he had forced upon Ethan. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Violet was sent to a juvenile detention center for her role in the embezzlement and fraud schemes. Without Dad's protection, she was just another girl with a history of behavioral issues. Mom took full control of the company. With Ethan's genius back in play, he started physical therapy and took over the legal and tech departments. The company flourished. Marcus lost the weight, not through magic, but through hard work and the fear of the pig slaughter I had planted in his mind. He became a fitness advocate and a disciplined student, eventually finding a passion for architecture. One evening, we sat in the garden. It was quiet. The voices in their heads had grown silent, because I no longer had secrets to keep. Mom looked at me, taking my hand. This time, her hand didn't shake. Amber, she whispered. I heard you. All of it. I don't know how, and I don't know why, but thank you for saving us. I smiled, looking up at the 13th floor. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over our home. You're welcome, Mom, I thought. But you saved yourselves. I just gave you the truth. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I didn't feel like a ghost. I felt alive. And for the first time, the thoughts in my head were finally my own. The end.